What's up, fight fans? Welcome back to the Split Decision Podcast. Back again with another banger. I am the TSD Alyas. This is my dog Nate right here. Nate, how you doing today?
I'm doing good. Impressive performance this past weekend, and also 40 years since Hagler Hearns, and
Hey,
hence the hat you're wearing.
exactly.
Where were you? Where were you in that? Where were you when that fight happened?
Probably my dad's balls. I'll tell you
Oh, me?
that.
No way. Me too.
Oh,
That's
nice,
crazy.
bro. Oh yeah. Well,
Oh,
welcome back to the Split Decision Podcast, the only podcast where we talk boxing like everybody else.
exactly. That's our new catch line.
We're,
Why listen to anyone else when you can listen to us?
why listen to anyone else when you can listen to the same thing from us?
Yep.
Oh my
Yep.
gosh, episode 11, right?
We post. Yeah, 11. I'm surprised I can count that high.
Well, I lost track. The only reason why is we have
Oh, really? More than 5?
yeah. The only reason why is the StreamYard has the title right above us right now. So,
Well, StreamYard, I wrote it, bro.
well, listen. Last episode we had Jeff on who gave us really good insight about the unification bout over the weekend between Jaron Boots Ennis and Eimantas Stanionis. I think that we gave pretty good predictions, all three of us. I think there was a good analysis. But your boy was the most accurate.
Okay.
This boy, Jaron Boots Ennis, straight dominated from the start of the bell, stopping Eimantas Stanionis in the 6th round, corner stoppage, by the way, to win the unified IBF, WBA, and Ring Magazine welterweight title. Nate, it was fun. It was borderline flawless. But give me your thoughts on this performance.
I mean, it was the kind of coming of age performance that you could if you were a big believer in Ennis, which I believe most people were, it was kind of, I wouldn't say what you expected, but it was something like you knew if he was on, he could have shown why he was such a hype prospect and why, this was who he could become. And I mean, he showed every layer of his game. He's good defensively. He was countering Stanionis, and there was nowhere for Stanionis to hide. If he tried harder, he just got countered and hit harder. When Ennis wanted to go after him, he's able to go after him. Anything Ennis wanted to do, he was pretty much able to do. And to do that against the number 2 ranked welterweight, maybe he's number 3 behind Brian Omar Jr., whatever. Either way, a fellow top welterweight, and he couldn't do a damn thing to Ennis, so it's super impressive. And yeah, dude, he's starting to creep up on the pound for pound conversation. Maybe not resume. I mean, pound for pound subjective, but talent wise, there's no question that he's up there for sure.
100%. And one thing that I said in the last podcast is that he had to start early. You know what I mean? I think I didn't say he had to, but I thought he was. I predicted that he was going to start early and get Eimantas Stanionis uncomfortable. What I didn't expect was for him to start out orthodox and really kind of ruin Eimantas Stanionis' game because, I mean, despite Boots being a switch hitter, I'm pretty sure that camp was preparing to fight a southpaw, and for him to start orthodox, that kind of probably put a little bump in their game plan. Not only that, but that jab was stabbing from the start. It wasn't like a filler out jab. It was a stiff stabbing jab that was changing levels, going to the head, going to the body, breaking the high guard of Eimantas Stanionis. Something that I was saying earlier again is that because he has that high guard, it's so compact, he's kind of breaking through the center line.
Yeah.
And another thing that he was really good with is the angles that the variations of punches that he was throwing, the amount of volume that he was able to garner from each range, whether it was inside fighting, from a distance, kind of at mid range, off, in traffic, whether it was defensively, counter punching. It seemed like everything was clicking for Jaron Boots Ennis. And another thing that I loved about it is that he was able to throw. He was able to swing over the guard. He was able to kind of catch. As Eimantas Stanionis was kind of blocking and kind of squaring up. And that was something that it seemed like Stanionis couldn't really figure out. He had his moments. Because as Jaron is trying to, kind of throw these beautiful combinations, sometimes he's too enamored with his offense that Stanionis was catching him sometimes. But it was just few and far between. And it was just, honestly, it was a borderline flawless performance from Boots, man. I think that, I've said it before, sometimes he fights to the level of his competition. And when the stakes were at its highest, he showed out. He really did. Again, 6 round stoppage. Do you think it was a good stoppage from the Stanionis' corner?
Yeah, I thought so. It was only going to get worse from there. He had just dropped him. in the 6th round, and there was just the damage that Stanionis was taking. Like there was nowhere for him to really hide. The only way he was going to get something going was if he tried harder, which meant going more into the pocket, putting himself at more danger, and just like the risk I would have taken considering the damage that he already taken. Like it was just, I thought it was a good stop. It's only going to be downhill from there. And also, like he missed this fight, or he missed. No, he didn't miss a fight. He missed the birth of his freaking daughter to be there. So just having a family waiting at home. I think all those things need to come into the picture when you're thinking about the kind of beating that Stanionis was taking, and it was only going to get worse. I completely agreed with the stoppage.
Yeah, I definitely think so too. And the only thing is just that, people might say, oh, he only got knocked down once, but you kind of saw that Eimantas Stanionis' will was kind of breaking as the
Yeah,
fight went on, especially towards the end of that 6th round. You kind of saw like it was just he was hesitating a lot more to kind of
yeah,
press forward, which he wasn't doing throughout the fight, despite him being at disadvantage. He kept trying to push forward, but once he got knocked down, you kind of saw Boots kind of just put the pressure on him. And that's kind of when the corner was like, hey, this is not really
yeah.
worth it to take another unnecessary damage. The tide's not kind of going our way. So it is what it is. But Boots is now the consensus number 1 boxer at 147. He has that Ring Magazine title, man. And we said it, man. Pound for pound is not far in his horizon. Potentially, he could be on this pound for pound list coming up this week, man. What is his ceiling?
I think he could definitely. I think he could definitely become the unified champion at welterweight, or undisputed champion at welterweight. Hopefully we get a chance to figure that out. Hopefully he fights Brian Norman Jr. at some point, or if he has to fight Mario Barrios too, then I think ideally it's Norman fights Barrios, and if Norman wins, then they fight for all the belts. But yeah, I think he can definitely get to the point where he's like top 5, maybe the top power per pound guy. Because you look at him like he's got the frame to go up to 154 for sure. He could definitely go up to 160, I
Dude, he
think,
looked
and
huge. He looked huge over the weekend.
yeah, and he's got the kind of skill sets where it's like, if he has to box more, like he's got that in the toolkit. If he has to go after a guy more, like there's pretty much nothing he can't do at a high level, and that will allow him to move up weight class and find success because he can just do whatever is necessary based on who he's fighting. And so I think he could definitely get to a point where he's potentially the next like top pound for pound guy.
Yeah. You want to know something is, you know, being with the right promoter really sets yourself up for your
For
career
sure.
because
Yeah.
when he was with Al Heyman, he was having the most trouble finding significant fights or being active in general. Since
Yeah.
signing with Eddie Hearn at the beginning of last year, he has fought 3 times. He has fought 3 times, one against David Avanesian, who technically is still ranked in the top 5 at 147, and he fought Karen last name. I'm not even going to say it. That was a tough fight for him.
Chikadzian,
You
something
didn't
like
hear
that.
me.
But
That's
that
what I
was
said.
also
I
the
said Chikatine. That's why I said you didn't hear me.
second.
But he fought
That's the
him
second
as
time they
well.
fought too.
Exactly. But that was a tough fight too.
Mhm.
And then in his 3rd fight, he is now the Ring Magazine and Unified 147 champion. The right promoter having the right push changes the narrative for his career so well because instead of saying, "Oh, he's this magical prospect who can really do anything, we just wish that he could get these fights," it's now like, man, how far can he go in his career? Is he the best boxer in the world right now? That's the conversations we're having now because
Yeah.
the skills were always there. It's just the opportunities for some reason were not lining up with him. And now it seems like things are coming into place and we're gonna see the full potential of Jaron Boots Ennis. Listen, 154 is in his horizon, but I feel like 147 is gonna be the run that we're gonna remember for sure. Like I'm telling you right now, the run at 147 is gonna be the run we're gonna remember. You think 154?
No, 'cause I think of the names at 154. Like, can you imagine if he like gets to like Virgil Ortiz, like Backroom Murtazalia, like some of the guys in that weight class? I would say they measure way better than the guys at 147. So if he was able to go on a similar run there, then I think that would be more memorable.
But if he's able to get undisputed at 147, you don't think that's a bigger achievement? You don't think people
Ooh.
will remember that fondly more?
Mm, I think if you were to an extent, I feel like if he could become a unified champion at 154, that might be a little more memorable than his run at 147. But I don't know, we have to see who he faces, just
We have
because,
to
like, right?
we have to see
Yeah,
because he's not even at that weight yet. He hasn't even announced
yeah,
it. He's still right now the top welterweight. And I'm only saying that because welterweight, especially in recent history, has been the glamour division.
yeah,
Despite
and-
how thin it is right now, the stigma still remains.
yeah. I think
147, that recent history is really
yeah.
elite.
I know, but I think you also need to take into context who he's like the weight class too. Like the only like guy that feels like the real like true threat is maybe Brian Norman Jr. If he goes up to 154, like there's killers at 154.
Very
So
true.
I think if
And
you're able to,
I
I
can
think the
agree
level
with
of
that.
opposition has to matter. Don't
I
get me
can
wrong.
agree
Like
with
what?
that.
Yeah,
I can agree with that because I feel like anybody in that top 10 would give Boots a really hard time. Like that is a
yeah,
stacked division. Even in
yeah,
even in the top 15, I think that would be
yeah,
a
yeah,
stacked division for Boots. Now, with this fight and victory over Stanionis, it being so one-sided and kind of like a master class of boxing, it's very similar to a fight that happened 20 years ago in the same city, Atlantic City, New Jersey. Talking about Floyd Mayweather versus Arturo Gotti, man. Do you see any similarities and parallels from this past weekend to that
yeah.
to that one fight in June of 2005?
Yeah, it was actually kind of crazy. I was writing about Ennis' performance, and I was like looking into. He talked about how he wanted to follow in the footsteps of Floyd Mayweather, and he talked about how Floyd Mayweather versus Arturo Gatti is like one of his favorite fights to watch. And when you look at Mayweather and Ennis, where they were in their career, like it was both their 34th fight in their pro career. They both won by a 6-round stoppage with the corner stopping the fight in this one-sided fashion, like to the point where it's like it was only going to get worse from there. And it was at
Yeah,
Boardwalk Hall in Atlantic City. And yeah, the kind of fight that cements them as like they're the next guy. Like they got, they're more than worth the hype that's surrounding them. And
yeah,
yeah, so that was just interesting to see those parallels. And obviously, he doesn't, Ennis doesn't quite have the accolades Mayweather had to get up before he got to 140, but still, just to see those parallels and how similar it is very interesting.
yeah. The fact that it happened in the same city is
Yeah, in their
impressive.
34th fight.
Is crazy in and of itself. But I remember, because that was as a kid, that was the first fight I told my family I wanted to go watch live, and we went to a
Yeah,
wing house and watched Thunder and Lightning, Floyd Mayweather versus Arturo Gotti, and the
mhm,
way that he was piecing him up throughout, it's probably his most impressive performance of his career. Like I think hands down, that's the most impressive performance. A mix of speed, power, the finishing ability, just movement,
yeah,
defense, counterpunching. That was all on display. With Jaron Boots Ennis, I felt like there were some similarities. Obviously, not as high profile as
yeah.
Mayweather and Gotti, but man, you know it was. I think this one is a little more significant in terms of like what was at stake because he was fighting the number two ranked welterweight in the world.
And they both
Arturo
had
Gatti.
titles.
I mean, Arturo Gatti was world champion coming into that Mayweather fight, but I don't think he was considered the best. The best in the division in his division at that time. You know what I mean?
Yeah, a little before our time.
Yeah, a little before our time. So I can't really. I can't. I mean, Dan Rafael will probably tell you, but I can't. I don't remember it. I just remember watching as a kid and being like, well, Mayweather's the best in the world. He's the fastest boxer I know. But this one, I mean, it was number one versus number two, and very similar to Terrence Crawford and Earl Spence. Number one single handedly manhandled number two. That's how it looked. And yeah, it was really good. And it was very, very memorable. A very career defining moment in Boots' career. Man, it wasn't just a a one fight event because there was former world champions, high touted prospects that were also there. But we'll get to those in a second because I want to kind of jump ahead because Giasov defeated Franco Ocampo, knocking him out in the fourth round. And the reason why I'm talking about this is because, man, he is now the WBA mandatory for Jaron's newly crowned WBA title. Nate, what do you think about this?
I thought Giasov looked very good. Obviously level of competition's kind of I think if there's definitely like, last episode we were talking about UFC, TKO boxing and stuff like that, like I just feel like for someone to become a number one contender, they should fight someone who's more notable or like up in the rankings. But obviously, that's not Giasov's fault. But either way, he looked really good. He had the Uzbeki style, in and out. He rocked Ocampo with the big left hook in the first round, almost got him out there, and then he stopped him with the body shot in the fourth round. I mean, he did everything. For a guy that wants to cement their place as a number one contender, he did everything you could have asked of him. And I mean, is that the fight I want to see next? No, I'd rather see Ennis, in another unification bout. But I mean, if that's what's next, then it's a worthy opponent, I would say, just given the circumstances and how boxing operates.
For sure. And you want to know, speaking of Uzbekistan, man, the 2025 World Boxing Cup was not that long ago. It actually happened this month, and they literally dominated the tournament. Same how they dominated the Olympics in Paris. They dominated the World Boxing Cup. I don't know what it is about this new generation of Uzbeki fighters, but dude, they're just a tricky puzzle.
Yeah.
And Giasov is another guy like that. He has some heavy hands though, but I think what makes me more impressed with him is because he has a very similar, like the finishing sequences is very similar to like Otabek Komotov, where he just it's like more punishment. He's not like he's not just one punch. He has heavy hands, and it's almost like cement where every punch that lands, it just gets harder and harder. It's just accumulation of shots. And it's going to be interesting. Yeah, he's now the mandatory, which means that there's going to be like a 13 to 30-day period where they got to go through negotiations.
If the WA enforces it, which is another ball of wax, that just makes no sense. But whatever.
Whatever. But listen, man, he's now in the top 5 of 147. Like he's now in the top.
Yeah, he's up there.
I think that here's the thing. I think that with that Brian Norman Jr. fight, you kind of want to do undisputed for that. So that opens the door for a guy like Shakram Giasov to get his title shot against Jaron Ennis. So it would be an interesting one. It'd be a very interesting fight. Do you think he could make some noise at 147, or do you think he's is it something like it's the division so thin that he can't really capitalize and really become a household name?
I think he could make some noise. It all depends on like how he gets matched up, and that's like another thing. Like you have guys like now it's gonna be like Ryan Garcia, Devin Haney, potentially Teofimo. Like they might just end up cutting Giasov off just because like he doesn't have that big of a name. But I think he could definitely, if he gets the opportunity, I think he could definitely make some noise.
Dude, I'm gonna tell you right now, Cinco de Mayo weekend might be the most important like weekend for the welterweight division.
For sure, yeah.
Because dude, I can't like if Devin Haney and Ryan Garcia are able to win their favorable matchups, like do they jump straight into the top 5 or something?
Oh, I mean, I can tell you right now, they're already ranked in the top 5 by the WBA. Like our WBC has Devin Haney ranked number 1,
which is crazy.
They have the WBA has Rolly Romero ranked number 2. Ryan Garcia ranked number 3.
Oh and then gosh.
I had a Jin Sasaki at number 4 and then Conor Benn number 5. So that's what's behind.
Whoa. Rolly number 2, Ryan number 3, Conor Benn number 5.
Yep. I did not stutter.
None of those guys have fought at welterweight in like
I think Ben's fought at welterweight. Yeah, well, he hasn't fought in a while though. Yeah.
Did he fight at no, he hasn't fought at welterweight in like several years though. Right?
I'm a look on. Let me look on BoxRec.
I'm almost positive he hasn't fought at welterweight in like.
That's the one time BoxRec doesn't want to pop up at the top of Google.
Yeah, like I'm almost positive like he hasn't like, and if not, that's what I said. You didn't hear me, but like, I'm almost positive. Let me see. Yeah, 150.
He fought at 150, 154. His last fight at 147 was against Chris Van Heerden in 2022.
That's what I'm saying. In 3 years, how is he still ranked in the top 5?
I don't know, man. And damn well if he finds a way to beat Chris Eubank Jr. and decides he wants to move down to 147.
For WBA.
Yeah, and plus it's such an easy fight. Like I'm not to spoil a segment for later, but like he's also promoted by Eddie Hearn, who's also promotes Jaron Ennis. That's 1000% next. They're gonna send Ennis to the UK and make him fight Conor Benn if Ben gets best. Chris Eubank Jr.
That would be stupid on you know how much investment they made on Conor Benn for him to get, like, starched by Jaron Boots Ennis?
Well, you got to cash. I don't know. I mean, that could be his way of trying to cash him out. I don't know.
I don't
But
know. I don't
yeah,
know. I think Conor Benn's not Edgar Berlanga. This is a guy that Eddie Hearn has developed from the start, you know what I mean? It's
yeah,
not
yeah,
a guy he signed from Top Rank just to capitalize on arguably the biggest payday that he was gonna get, so we'll
yeah,
see, but that could be an interesting matchup, but, getting back on track, the co-main event saw a former world featherweight champion in Raymond Ford still make some noise at super featherweight because he defeated Thomas Matisse by unanimous decision in a match that I think, wow, very convincing, very impressive.
yeah,
Raymond Ford, since jumping up, dude, when is he gonna get a title fight? That's the real question. I think it's not I don't think it's a matter of if, it's a matter of when.
yeah. And 130 is like pretty wide open too. Like Lamont Roach, I don't know if he's gonna
Dude,
stay at 135 or move
that's what
back
I'm thinking,
down.
bro. Like, do you think he vacates that WBA title?
If I were him, I would try to hold on until the rematch against Tank, just to kind of have that in my back pocket. And it also helps that Tank has the WBA belt, and like Lamont Roach also has the WBA belt at 130. So it's something where it's kind of like, oh, he's fighting for the same organization, just a weight class up for a title fight. And it's a big fight, especially now. The rematch is going to be huge.
That rematch
Um,
might do like close to 1,000,000 buys, I think.
maybe, yeah.
I
Either way,
mean,
it's
it
one
was
of
a
the biggest
draw.
fights.
It was a draw,
It
bro.
Yeah. It's
So
suddenly become like one of the biggest fights that can be made in boxing. Um, as far as where Raymond Ford fits in this, I think he could definitely win a title. Like 130 is very wide open, and he is, dude. I think he only got hit by 24 punches in a 10-round fight. Like that's crazy. Like I
that
don't
is
care who you're fighting. Like to be that slick and that quick,
it's not
freaking,
just
he's
that,
just
it's the volume.
yeah,
Like, the CompuBacks numbers, I don't have them up, like, as we speak, but, like, the numbers that he was throwing is astronomical in a sense. Like, he was
yeah,
constantly throwing, and he wasn't fading at all, especially in the 10th
yeah.
round. Still look fresh, man. So, I have up the Ring Magazine rankings for 130, and like you said, pretty wide open. I mean, obviously Emmanuel Navarrete at number one, Oshaki
Yeah,
Foster number
they're
two,
not letting Navarrete go anywhere near Raymond Ford.
Anthony Kakachi number three, which is weird. Does he
I
not?
think he moved. I thought he moved up to 130. Did he move up?
I thought he did too. Didn't he vacate his title?
I think. Oh yeah, that's why IBF title is vacant.
Yeah, he vacated
It's
the IBF. Well, he's still in the ranking, so we'll just count him. Anthony Kakachi number three, Lamont Roach four, Joe Cordina five, Hobson Conceição six, Eduardo Nunes seven, Eduardo Hernandez eight, Albert. I'm not even gonna say his last name because I don't want to butcher it. Nine.
Badagaziev.
You didn't hear me. That's why I said Badigaziev. That's why I said you didn't hear me. And then Albert Bell, who I think is severely underrated at number 10.
Mhm.
Where does Raymond Ford rank in this top 10? Should he be in the top 10? Should he be in the top 5? Where do you think he should be after this win?
Oh, I think. Oh God,
Because if we take out
134.
Kakachi,
I
that
think
is
he could be around like the 4 or 5. I think when you look at what he did at 126 and the type of performance that he just delivered, I would be willing to put him around the top 5 range.
listen, all I'm saying is this. These two, Badigaziev and Bell, tough matchups. I think
Yeah,
the Nunes matchup would be another tough one. Hernandez, I think Ford would have the edge. I definitely think Ford could beat Conceição. It's just Conceição has a difficult style for
he's
anybody.
tricky. Yeah.
He's just a tricky guy. It's a frustrating guy, but tricky
Hmm.
nonetheless. So it will be very interesting to see what happens with Raymond Ford at 130. But from a former world champion to a rising prospect, a quick turnaround for Mr. Omari Jones, Orlando's own Omari Jones. He defeated William Jackson by another. Wait, did he do first round KO in his last
Yeah.
fight?
No,
That's
his
what I
first
said.
fight was the second one. Yeah, yeah,
That's why I said you didn't hear me. That's why I said it. But yeah, he
yeah.
stopped William Jackson in the first round to get his second pro win. Nate, what'd you think of this?
I mean, he did what he's supposed to do. I mean, it's the kind of fight where if you're gonna keep him active, like these are the kind of performances that are gonna keep him in the ring, and it's a mature performance. And he went to, I mean, for him to not go headhunting, go for a body shot and do that, and get the stoppage that way. Beautiful right uppercut to the liver. Yeah, man, he looks the part so far. We're gonna see where he settles in, and yeah, hopefully Orlando's own can continue to get these type of performances and move quickly. I think he came back in 4 weeks. It was like less than a month. So I mean, if he can stay this active, like he's gonna move quickly
Oh,
probably.
dude, if he stays this active, like it's a fight like once every 2 months.
Yeah, I mean
Prospect of,
but that's what fighters need,
prospect of the year,
or prospects need.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
I think so. But when was the last time Orlando had a world champion? I'm trying to think. Was it Antonio
Probably
Tarver?
was Erickson Lubin
I'm trying to think. Was Erickson Lubin a world champion?
I'm not sure. I know he fought for the belt. Uh,
I'm gonna
I,
check right now. Was it? I feel like
I don't think
what?
he was ever a world champion. I think he might
No,
have been
he
interim.
was an interim champion.
Yeah.
No, he wasn't
That,
even an interim champion. He fought for an interim title against
oh,
Fundora.
oh yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
oh
So
yeah.
I
Yeah.
guess
And
Antonio
it's so
Tarver.
hard in boxing to keep up with all this crap.
Yeah.
Friggin' wipe your ass properly belt. Friggin' excuse my French. But
Yeah.
no, there's so many titles where it's like you have to always like double check.
Yeah.
But no,
I know.
he fought
But
Jermell Charlo, and his two chances for a belt basically he's lost when he
yeah.
fought Jermell Charlo for a world title and then an interim title against Fundora.
Well, potentially he could have another shot of it after May
Yeah,
10th if he gets past
the
Argyle Holmes on Pro
the
Box.
IBF eliminator, which would set him up to fight Murtazalia, which is that's a tough matchup too.
That'd be an interesting matchup. I would love that.
Very
But
interesting. Yeah,
let's get back on Amari Jones because I said it before. I think Amari has the utmost potential. It just seems like his frame. He
yeah,
hasn't filled into his frame, which is
yeah.
interesting because right now he fights at what 154, so super
Yeah, he's like
welterweight.
at like 150. They say it's weird. They say, "Oh, it's a welterweight bout," then he weighs in at like 150. So it's some type of catch weight.
It's some type of
But
catch weight, but what weight should he settle at?
I like to early on. I'd like to see him settle in at junior middleweight. I think he definitely has the frame to go up to 160 and potentially 168. I mean, what he's 6'1". He's about like a little over 6 foot. So I
Yeah,
think that would probably be. I would say
he
I'd
looks
like to
like
see him settle in at 154 and kind of like progress in that weight class, and then
he
you
would be
know,
a true middleweight. Like
yeah,
I can just already
a
see
big junior
what
middleweight. Yeah,
yeah, I see what his frame is looking like, and he looks like he would be a top-notch middleweight.
yeah,
But right now, I agree with you. 154 right now, as he kind of progresses in his pro career, kind of grows into his body as well. You don't want to put him in with a bigger weight class if he doesn't have that mature strength yet or anything like that. The
yeah,
physicality, you know what I mean. You don't want to just jump him to the wolves. You want to kind of
yeah.
fresh him
Baby
in.
steps. Yeah,
Yeah, exactly. Have him transition his amateur style into the pro ranks because
yeah.
amateur is not the same as pro.
It
We
is.
we've already
It is
said it.
not. Yeah.
We've said it a few times, but yeah. So that was all from that awesome Matchroom card. That was great. Let's get into
Yeah.
some quick boxing news because this is developing news now because looks like we're gonna have another undisputed heavyweight champion, I guess, because Oleksandr Usyk versus Daniel Dubois 2 is being finalized for July 12th. Nate, I'll tell you what, I think even though I hated the fact that Oleksandr Usyk had his IBF belt stripped after winning undisputed, the fact that Daniel Dubois was able to become champion and then defend it against Anthony Joshua in impressive fashion only brings up the hype for this rematch because without it, I don't think the hype would have really been as high as it is right now.
Yeah. All I'd be clinging to is believing that Usyk's balls are by his belly button,
Oh my
and that
gosh.
Dubois would
Oh
have
my gosh.
stopped him if it wasn't for Luis Pabon friggin' being friggin' siding with Usyk. But yeah, I mean it's being finalized. Mike Coppinger reported. I think Usyk's manager or promoter had something to say about it. Like they're still in the process. It's not a done deal yet, but like it seems like all signs are pointing toward that. And
So
it's
would
gonna
that
be
be
at Wembley Stadium too,
okay? That was my question because last
if
one I
it's
believe
finalized. Yeah,
last one was what in Poland.
yeah, it was in Poland,
It was in
outdoors in the
Poland.
rain.
which was like a terrible idea for some reason. Why would you have
Yeah,
it?
especially for Usyk. I mean, because the
Yeah,
stadium, like they can like Ukraine and like Poland are
yeah, which is
like the
fine.
brother nation,
I
you know.
understand the significance of it, but like it was just it's very hard to have outdoor stadium shows. Like it's just
Yeah,
the
the
weather
weather
is
could very well.
yeah. Wembley though is an exception because they also have like that little roof that comes
Yeah,
up.
the canopy. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
So, but
that's gonna be.
dude,
Yeah, I mean, I'm
I
excited for it. Seems like Dubois turned over a new leaf, and now he's out of witness protection after whatever the hell happened that
oh
forced him to
my
withdraw
god.
from the Joseph Parker fight.
You don't know
Very
you still
weird.
not
That
know
is
what
very.
happened?
Apparently, he had an illness. I think they saw. It's just like I guess I don't know. Like obviously Floyd Schofield Jr. also had to withdraw from his fight against Shakur, and then like not long after, like Dubois got hit with the same illness apparently, but there was a like yeah,
Is
he just
there
like disappeared. This
is
is
there like
weird.
a food going around that they were not
I don't
supposed to
know.
be eating? I
I'm
don't know, but I think that this fight, this is a different version of Dubois, a Dubois that first that who used to fade very early, who now has really strong conditioning, a lot more patient. So
yeah,
he looks like he sees punches a lot better. But then again, when you're fighting such a high operator like Usyk, it's very hard to it's really hard to just kind of adjust to him and kind of
yeah.
neutralize that.
So many layers to his game.
So it'll be interesting. I love the fight. I love the fight. If Usyk's able to become 2-time undisputed,
Yeah, I mean
history,
he's entering top 10 like heavyweight of all time.
history.
Yeah,
Like I'm
and
telling
like
you right now,
face of this era type shit.
it's crazy to think that beginning of 2021, we were talking about Wilder, Fury, Joshua as arguably the greatest heavyweights in the modern era. Fast forward 4 years later, Oleksandr Usyk is unanimous. You know what
Yeah,
I mean?
like undisputed number one.
It's crazy. It's crazy. Who would have thought a cruiserweight would have done that? You know what I
Yeah, I
mean?
remember I think I remember like just looking at him like he's just too small, and then eventually he just like turns out he's too skilled for everybody. I
Dude,
remember the Derek Chisora fight was what really like spooked me. It was like, dude, like if Chisora can do that,
that's
and
what
like
I
like
thought too.
what the hell is Anthony Joshua? Like Tyson Fury, what are those guys gonna do
I
to him?
thought that too, but you know what else I thought? Because when the arbitration for Deontay Wilder's trilogy fight happened, and then they
Mm,
mandated the WBO mandated Usyk versus Joshua, I was like, this is a terrible fight for Joshua. Like I think he could win,
yeah,
but this is like a fucking awful fight. Like
hmm
this is something that could be big trouble. And as I was watching the first round of their first fight, I was like, oh my gosh, got
yeah.
I said I think I bet it like $10. I was like, oh my gosh, I just lost $10. I
Like not even 3 minutes into the fight, like oh shit,
because I saw
this
how
isn't good.
the movement of him. It's just like Anthony
Yeah.
Joshua, and then Anthony Joshua tried to move with him, and I was like, oh my gosh, what is going on?
Yeah,
But
that was the yeah, he went into London. I think it was Principality Stadium, or was it? No, it's Tottenham, where Usyk beat Joshua the first time, and now he's
oh
gonna
my gosh,
go into Wembley and try to do the same thing. I mean, if he does that, I'm gonna be.
he's the king of
I mean,
England.
hats off to yeah. Because
All
what
right,
he's twice against Joshua, twice against Fury, and if he were to get twice against Dubois, just name him the freaking king.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. All right, so that's about the most boxing news that we've covered so far. I think we covered pretty much everything. So let's get
Yeah.
into our little games. Nate, we're doing blind rankings this week. I'll let you start first. Give me what the blind ranking is. I want to see if I'll be enticed.
Okay, so we're doing a blind ranking. We're gonna rank the top 5 opponents we want to see Jaron Ennis face. It could
Okay,
be yeah. Should we do next or just in the future? I don't know. Either way, do
just
whatever you
blind rank. It's okay. I'll
think.
just blind rank it.
Blind ranking. All right. So number one, let's go. We talked about earlier. Shakram Giasov. Let's go top 5.
Top five. He's four.
Yeah, he's 4.
He's four.
Okay. Okay.
He's definitely. I have no.
Okay.
I think there's just not much that he's proven. I mean, he's been
Mhm.
dominant from his throughout his career up to this point, but he's also
Yeah.
not faced a formidable contender for me to be
Yeah.
like, oh yeah, I'm too hyped about this undefeated prospect, which is great. But in boxing, a lot of people can be undefeated.
Yeah, it's just kind of adds to like, how does this guy become number one over? Okay, whatever. Um, all right, let's go. I included 147 and 154 as
Okay,
well.
that's fine.
So let's go Bakram Murtazaliev. Where would you put him?
That's hard because I haven't thought about that matchup, but when you think about something that could really give Boots a lot of trouble is the him like fighters kind of punching with Boots, especially
Yeah.
when Boots is trying to is trying to lay down his own bricks and lay down his own offense.
Hmm.
He tends to neglect his head movement, especially keeping his head on the center line. There's a bunch of times where Stanionis was able to catch him, but the fact
Yeah.
that Stanionis was eating 4 or 5 shots up to that point, those punches weren't doing damage. When you talk about a guy like Bakram or Dazaliev, who's able to kind of gauge range, throw at a high volume, and throw pretty fast and very, very hard, landing at the end of his shots. That's something that Jaron Boots Ennis will definitely have trouble with, especially with a guy who has similar or longer reach than him. Uh, I'll put that at 2 because that one right
100%.
there, that I mean, I'm a big believer that he's the boogeyman at 154. That would be a fight that I would look forward to a lot.
Yeah, that would be a great fight, and I think because imagine they're comparable like height and reach wise, and someone who can like hit Boots from the same range, like that could make it very
Yeah.
interesting.
I will say the
Um,
movement of Boots, like the way that he throws, the variation of punches that he throws, and also the angles that he's able to cut, will give Murtazaliev some trouble because Murtazaliev is very squared up and kind of
yeah,
he's very like Dmitry Bivol, where he kind of goes linear and he doesn't really go side to side. He kind of stays front and back when he's doing when he's throwing his offense and kind of fighting head to head. But I think that would be an amazing matchup.
all right. Yeah, I would love to see that fight. I would love. I mean, I think I put together a pretty solid list here. Not to pat myself on the back or anything. All right, next one we're gonna go Teofimo Lopez. This is a fight that Teofimo Lopez has said he wants. Eventually, he wants to move up to 147. Where would this fit in for you?
Okay, so let's see. I have 1, 3, and 5 left. Here's the thing. I'm very excited, but I would think that the prospect of seeing that fight would be interesting. Very, very great. I think the raw talent of both of them would make for like a very like fan friendly fight. Something that the fans would love.
Mhm.
Is that the fight I'm most looking forward to? Not really. I'll put that at 3. I like the
Okay.
boxing fight a little bit
Ooh.
more.
Okay. So you got 1 and 5 left. This is going to be interesting. All
Uh-huh.
right. So, all right. Next one. You got 2 left. Brian Norman Jr. Where
That's
does
number
he
1.
finish?
That's
Number
number 1.
1? Oh, you're going to hate yourself for this.
For real?
You are. I
Oh
even
my
know if I want to mess with you now. 'Cause I threw a. But all right. So, anyways, let's go to Brian. What are your thoughts on a potential bout
Number
between
1, I
Ennis and
think
Norman Jr.?
I think just
I
because
don't
of
think it's. Yeah.
the dynamic of 147, these guys are probably the best boxers in the division. They're the only guys that I feel like that are like real, not household names, but that are creating a buzz for the division after so many stars have fallen off the face of
Mhm.
the earth. After it was the glamour division for like over a decade, and now it's like one of the thinnest, lesser known divisions. This fight would be great, and if it was for the undisputed strap, I think it would be fantastic.
Yeah.
All right, what did I mess up
Yeah.
on? So number five's left, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I was gonna. If you would have said 5, this would have been perfect. 'Cause I had this teed up at Adrian Broner ready to go on the list. But since you have 5 left, the one that I have left is Virgil Ortiz. Yeah, for me, that's clear cut number 1.
Oh yeah, that's that. Oh my gosh, that's crazy.
Yeah,
Why did I put Giosov at 5 or 4?
yeah. I
Oh my
wasn't sure.
gosh, Virgil Ortiz,
I don't know, cause who else?
honestly,
Yeah,
and that fight. Oh my gosh, that's at number
yeah,
5. That fight, I
yeah.
think, would be the toughest of they those 2
Both of their
should
careers.
be those 2 were meant to be longtime rivals. It's just that
Hmm.
Virgil Ortiz could not make 147 anymore. But those 2 were supposed to be the successors to Terrence Crawford and Errol Spence Jr. Virgil
Yeah,
Ortiz couldn't make 147 anymore. But that fight, That fight is 50-50.
Yeah,
Only
that's
time
like one of the best fights that could be made in boxing.
yeah, like eventually that fight will be made, and we'll be talking about it how we talk about Spence and Crawford in terms of build up. Like when are these two are
Yeah,
gonna fight?
if they're both undefeated and fighting for a belt at 154,
Yeah,
like that would be.
I fucking butchered that fight. That list.
Yeah, you're good, man. It's a
Oh my
blind
god.
rankings. No telling where they're gonna go.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it
So
is what
that's
it
the
is.
list. You had Virgil Ortiz number 5, Shakran Giasov number 4, Tiafimo number 3, Bakram Murtazaliev number 2, and Brian Norman Jr. number 1. Quick question:
That's a
It, it,
diarrhea list.
if Conor Ben
He would have been
were to
six.
win, he would have been 6. So I was gonna say if he beats like Chris Eubank Jr. and comes back down to 147, where do you think he would fit on this list?
Okay, so if it wasn't, he would be 4 because
Okay,
he hasn't had a meaningful win at 147 or 154. So how can
that's
I
true.
judge him? Well, how can I judge
Mhm.
him? You know what I mean?
I feel
I
like
mean,
yeah,
I like Conor Ben. I think he's a great prospect. It's just how can I judge him for real? That's the
that's
real.
that's valid.
You
Yeah,
know what I
I feel
mean?
like I won't be surprised if that's what Eddie Hearn wants to do next, though. If Conor Ben wins,
It is what it is, man. But
yeah,
listen, that was a good blind ranking. I was very impressed with that. That had me
Mm.
thinking a lot. Honestly, that
Yeah,
had me
man.
thinking a
I
lot.
appreciate it, man.
Hopefully, I
Sometimes I
have
come up with good things.
hopefully I have you thinking a lot with this because we're in the month of April. You know,
Oh
hence
God.
my war hat. So we're gonna blind rank these all-time fights that happened in the month of
Oh
April.
God, I have no clue where the hell this is gonna
Oh
go.
yeah, you ready
Oh
for this?
man, I
You
have
ready?
I have no choice but to be ready.
All right. So let's start with something simple. We're going back to 1985. We're talking Marvin Hagler versus Tom
All right,
Curry.
number one with the bullet, no arguing. Just I was listening to Teddy Atlas like a clip on Instagram, just the way he broke it down, just like two like all-time great fighters, and like they didn't waste a second. Like they just went at it at the opening bell, like two killers too, like
Can you
two of the
believe it
most
was
pure
only
guys in
3 rounds?
boxing.
Can you believe it was only 3 rounds?
That's like in a way
That
that adds to the allure of it. The fact that so much happened in so little time,
the way
and
that
like
they
an
were
all
throwing,
action war.
the way they
Yeah,
were throwing, I thought it was 15 rounds. You could have told me it was 15. The way that
yeah,
the amount of action, the amount of highlights, that highlight reel is pretty
yeah,
much the whole fight. That
yeah.
fight is amazing. So it's number one for you.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I would have done that too. All right, so next one we have
This is
we're, we're going back
shit's
to
gonna hit the fan.
we're going back to 2001. We're talking Prince Nassim versus Marco Antonio Barrera.
Ooh.
Prince
Oh no.
Nassim's first ever loss and pretty much
Yeah.
caused
A
him
lot of
to
people.
stop boxing.
Yeah, I think I know Barrera was an underdog going into this fight, I believe.
Yeah.
This is a little before my time. I'm gonna go number 3. Just given the circumstances and the kind of performance Barrera delivered, I'll go number 3.
Yeah, and the narrative of Prince Nassim being this was,
Yeah,
Emmanuel Stewart was
he was
Prince
his trainer
Nassim.
for this. It was
Yeah,
weird. Now that I remember, like watching it on YouTube, it was like he had like two coaches, and it was like Emmanuel Stewart was in for like one round, and like the other coach was in for the other round. It was a very weird dynamic that makes
well,
absolutely no
Stewart
sense.
was saying that Nassim was not in shape heading into the fight, which I was
Yeah.
like, if I was like old enough to
And
like really follow that build up, I would have been like,
yeah.
bro, that
Yeah.
would be
I
fake.
remember my dad telling me about like when he went to go like enter the ring, like he always like flipped into the ring, but like the gloves were weird, so like he wasn't. I mean, he obviously wasn't quite as comfortable. And that was, I believe, that was just his second fight in America, and his first was against Kevin Kelly at Madison Square Garden, all time great. That was a war as well.
Yeah. Yeah. So you said number 3 on this one?
Yeah, I went number 3.
All right. So we're gonna go to we went from 2001. We're gonna go a year ahead to 2002. We're talking Lennox Lewis versus Mike Tyson. Where do you rank this
Ooh,
one?
see, obviously, given the spectacle and all of that, like that would be like clear cut, like number 2. But if I'm gonna go, like I'm just rating it based on the fight and the quality of the fight, I think I'm gonna put this number 5. Just
Number
because
5.
Lewis kind of just ran right through him, and this was a past his prime. Mike Tyson and yeah, Lewis did what he was supposed to do to
Yeah.
Tyson. I would say
You know what's
it was
crazy? You know what's crazy about this fight? It was a fight between the man who started the 90s as undisputed heavyweight champion versus the man who ended the 90s as undisputed heavyweight champion. So it
Yeah.
was kind of like a generations fight in a sense with
Hmm.
that one. But it was one sided. It was one unless
Yeah.
Lewis kind of
Yeah.
breaks off Mike
It's-
Tyson in that one.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
it was one of the rare times where HBO and Showtime worked together
Yeah.
to make a
That's
fight.
how big the fight was. I
Yeah,
mean,
that's
like
how
they,
big the fight
what
was.
the only
You're the
Floyd
only one
Mayweather
was
Pacquiao is the only one
yeah,
I know of.
yeah.
That just
There could be
shows like
another
how
one,
big
but
that
like,
fight was.
nah, the like
Yeah.
that's some when you have the two rival, networks working together,
That yeah.
you have a big fight on your hands. So
Yeah.
that's
And then
number
what? That
five.
was another Emmanuel Stewart moment where he's just getting on Lewis' ass. Like, dude, if you don't, you're gonna run into some crazies if you don't freaking tighten up. And yeah,
Yeah.
God rest his soul, man. All
So
time
that
great trainer.
so that was number
Well,
five, right?
he's Stewart's been involved in all three. 'Cause what he was with Nassim Ahmed. He trained Tommy Hearns, who was in ranked number
Mm,
one. Dude, freaking
yeah,
insane.
yeah. Dude, that's actually crazy. That's
Yeah.
crazy to think. All right. So that was 2002. Now let's go back last year, 2024, 420, Devin Haney versus Ryan Garcia.
Oh, see, I got 1, 3, and 5. Oh god.
You
See,
only no, you have two left.
I'm
You have
very,
Hagler and Hearns at one.
I'm very worried about I'm not worried about number one. Number one is I feel like fine.
You already
Oh
said
god,
number
where
one.
am I gonna put? Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like I know I'm cool with that. I might go. Oh fuck, where am I gonna put this? I think I'm gonna put this number 4. Just like I don't know. Given the I
You have four and two left, right?
yeah, I think I'm gonna go
Okay.
number. It was a decent like. It's just like there wasn't enough like back and forth like action. It was very much if one guy was winning, the other guy. Don't get me wrong, it was still a good fight. But and also like I can't get what happened, like the build up, Ryan Garcia missing weight
I
and like
feel
him
like
failing a drug test. I can't like I don't know. I can't get that out of my
you
head,
think about the
you know?
build up 1 year later, and you gotta think about it. That thing was legendary. That thing. I think about the
Yeah.
build up now. I'm like, wow, what a crazy time we were in, where Ryan Garcia was posting every day, posting his rap songs, posting that Derek James
Yeah, freaking
montage.
the snap thing,
It's like
right?
where he's like looking at the camera in the punching bag,
Freaking
and Derek James is in
drinking
the corner.
apple drinking alcohol at the freaking stare down.
Yeah. But I
God.
think too, like that was the most exciting Devin Haney fight of his career. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, think about it. I
Yeah, but
think
that's not, I'm not grading on the curve for the sake of Devin Haney.
granted, Ryan Garcia won, and that was like the most unintelligible Ryan Garcia performance of all
Yeah,
time.
Devin Haney's that
Spamming left
regardless of
hooks.
regardless of circumstances, Devin Haney definitely not the best game plan.
All
It's
right,
just execution of it. Yeah.
that's number four, right?
Number 4. Oh god, am I gonna hate
All right, we have
myself?
number two left.
Number 2 is left.
All right, so you're gonna feel okay about this because you know
Oh god.
we have to go back to 2022 with this one because
2022.
Katie Taylor versus Amanda.
Okay. Woo. Oh, oh
That
man. Yeah. All
you
time
were
great. Yeah.
you
All
and
time
you wanna
great
know what's
fight.
crazy is that unlike myself, where I had an idea of where the list was going, you have
Hmm.
no idea. You have to be a boxing historian to know how many every single fight that happened in the month of April, year by
Yeah.
year.
No. Yeah. I was good on you. And yeah, this fight was nuts. Yeah, and they're about to do it for a third time. I mean, I think Serrano should be up 2-0, but that's neither here
I think
nor
one
there.
one. I think it was 1-1.
One one.
I
Okay.
think Katie Taylor won the first fight. She didn't win the
Okay.
second fight, but the first
Hmm.
fight,
Yeah.
Amanda Serrano took her foot off the
Yeah.
gas. Katie Taylor was able to win the last rounds. That's
Yeah.
how
I
I
think she gassed herself out trying to get Katie Taylor out of there. I think it was the 5th round. I think that where she had her 4th or 5th round where she had Taylor super
yeah.
hurt. I
And
was
dude,
like,
honestly, when I tell you that, boxing atmospheres are not always the most hyped unless it's like in the UK.
that was
There were
crazy.
you could not you couldn't even hear the announcers
Yeah.
in this fight.
I
That's
think.
how everybody was on their feet. Everybody was loud for all 10 rounds. That fight and that fight flew by. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? Granted, it
Yeah,
was
that's
2-minute rounds,
2-minute
but
rounds.
still, it flew by. like a dime. Like it was
Mm,
just
like a
it was
dime.
it was a
Yeah.
fantastic fight.
I just remember seeing the stare down, like Amanda Serrano's looking at her like, this is crazy. Like, you get like Madison Square Garden, you get like big time like Puerto Rican boxers, big time Irish boxers, usually like Madison Square Garden's where they go. So to get, a huge star from both and have them
Dude,
fight.
the fan bases were just clashing, and that was great.
Yeah.
So that
Yeah.
was
They're gonna go back to Madison Square Garden.
that was the
That's gonna
all-time
be
April fights. So let's just do a recap. Number one, you have Marvin Hagler and Thomas Hearns. Number two, you got Katie Taylor Serrano one. Number three, you got Prince Nassim versus Marco Antonio Barrera. Number four, you have Devin Haney versus Ryan Garcia, and number five, you have Lennox Lewis versus Mike Tyson. A pretty good list, in my
I think
opinion.
that's a solid list, yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
you were stressed. I could see it in your
Oh
face.
god, yeah, I was getting wrinkles like mid podcast, mid freaking. I was starting to get gray hairs.
Oh my
I'm forever
gosh,
scarred by the Adrian Broner blind ranking.
dude! But that's the end of this podcast, Nate. Before we go, Nate, do you have any closing thoughts?
No, I'm just this weekend's a little. Well, you got Dalton Smith. He's fighting. He could be next for Alberto Puello. Ben Whitaker is fighting Liam Cameron. Hopefully, they can figure out how many rounds that fight's going to go. Kind of crazy that they don't know. Um, and then the following weekend, you got maybe we could bring Jeff back. He Peter Dotson fought Connor Benn, so that could be good get insight ahead of
Oh,
him fighting Chris Eubank Jr. So
very
we'll see.
true. Very
See if I can
true.
rope him back on and see his thoughts and what he thought of and just as far as just having a trainer's perspective and like digging deep, like that's a different type of like studying. Like you're going deep to try and figure out what you can exploit and stuff like that. And so that could be very good insight for that fight. And
Yeah,
yeah.
100%. And another fight that we should just mention, or someone that is going to be back in the ring this Saturday, is Gabriela Fundora, the undisputed champion.
Mhm.
I forget what division, but she's undisputed. Um, she's going to be good. Charles Conwell is going to be on that card as well. He's
Mhm.
someone to look out for.
Another name at 154. Yeah.
Yeah, a stacked 154 at that. So that, but and Vozdik's on that card too.
He is. Oh shit.
Yeah,
That's
so that's going to
him
be.
versus Morel would be if Vosdik wins that fight. Him versus
I think that would be a good fight.
Morel would be.
I will be watching the high profile fights. I won't be able to watch every single boxing fight this weekend. Obviously, WrestleMania is coming up, so my attention is going to be there. Requested the day off so that way I could watch both days and enjoy myself. So I'll be doing that. But on Monday, it's back to business with the sweet science. So thank you guys
Okay.
for watching episode 11 of the Split Decision podcast. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe. Follow me at the Split Decision on Instagram. Subscribe to the Split Decision Network on YouTube. And follow my boy Nate on KONSI. He does amazing articles. Nate, where else can they find you on social media?
Oh yeah, you can find me on Twitter. I believe it's Nate_Marrero. Definitely need to post more. And I believe on Instagram it's Nathaniel Marrero. And yeah, that's where you can find me on social media. Feel free to if you want to talk boxing, all that stuff. Just hit me up and yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
But
yeah.
thank you guys for watching. I'm Elias. It's my dog Nate, and we are out.